Have you ever wondered why there's a non-stop voice inside your head that never seems to take a day off? That voice that comments on everything, you, your decisions, your past, your future, even random things like why the neighbor's dog barks so much. Most people think this voice is them. They believe the non-stop chatter is their identity. But what if it's not? What if that inner voice is just like a hyperactive roommate who lives in your mind and keeps talking even when no one asked? Think about it. You wake up in the morning and before your feet even touch the floor, the voice starts. You slept too late. You have so much to do. What if today goes wrong? And throughout the day, it keeps narrating your entire life like a commentator describing a cricket match that no one else is watching. But here's the twist. The real you is not the voice. The real you is the one who hears the voice. This realization is where true inner freedom begins. Because the moment you notice that you are the listener and not the talker, something changes. That small awareness creates a tiny gap, the space where peace lives. Instead of reacting to every thought, you begin to simply observe it. And when you observe, the voice loses its control over you. The inner voice talks because it feels responsible for managing your entire life. It wants to prepare you for every possible scenario, even imaginary ones. That's why it exaggerates, criticizes, repeats stories, and plays old memories on loop. It's trying to protect you, but in the process, it becomes the biggest source of your stress. The funny part is, you don't have to argue with it. You don't have to silence it. You only have to watch it, like someone watching clouds drift across the sky. Eventually, the voice realizes it doesn't need to fight for your attention. Imagine sitting quietly and hearing your mind say, "I might fail," and instead of panicking, you simply notice it. Oh, there's fear talking. Or when the mind says, "I'm not good enough," you don't dive into self-doubt. You just observe. There's insecurity trying to speak. This simple shift turns you from a prisoner of your thoughts to an observer of them, and an observer cannot be controlled. Your inner voice is not your enemy. It's just noisy. It repeats whatever you've fed it over the years. Fear, opinions, memories, doubts. When you witness it without reacting, it slowly settles. It becomes softer, clearer, more useful. You start hearing guidance instead of chaos, creativity instead of confusion, calmness instead of panic. And the beauty is, this awareness is available every single moment. All you have to do is step back and notice the voice, not judge it, not fight it, just notice. And in that noticing, you discover something profound. You are the consciousness behind everything, quietly aware, always present, completely free. There is a moment in everyone's life when they suddenly realize, even if just for a second, that something inside them is watching everything happen. That quiet watcher notices your thoughts, your emotions, your reactions, and even the chaos of your day. It doesn't speak, it doesn't judge, it simply observes. This silent presence is what the book calls the witness, the real you behind all mental noise. Most people live without ever paying attention to this deeper layer of awareness, but once you recognize it, your entire relationship with life begins to shift. Think about how you experience a thought. A thought appears, maybe a memory, maybe a worry, maybe something random. But how do you know the thought is there? Because something inside you sees it. Now think about an emotion. Anger rises, sadness appears, excitement bursts open. But again, how do you know you are angry or sad? Because something within you is watching that emotional wave happen. This watcher doesn't get angry. It doesn't feel sad. It simply observes the feeling passing through the body and mind. This witnessing awareness is the core of who you are. You are not your anger or your stress or the excitement you feel when something good happens. You are the one who sees all those experiences come and go. If you pay attention closely, you'll notice that everything in your life is constantly changing. Your thoughts, your moods, your desires, your fears. One moment you feel confident, the next moment insecure. One moment peaceful, the next moment anxious. But the part of you that notices these changes never changes. Recognizing the witness is like stepping out of a storm and standing under a shelter. The storm still happens, You still think, feel, react, but you're not getting tossed around by every emotion. You begin to see life with clarity, because you are no longer trapped inside every moment. You're watching it unfold, just like you'd watch a movie on a screen. The drama may be intense, but you know you're sitting safely in the audience. When something upsetting happens, most people get pulled into the emotional storm. They become the sadness, the anger, the fear. But when you practice witnessing, you remain the sky while the emotions are just passing clouds. They come, they go, they don't define you. This perspective brings incredible peace. You stop trying to control everything, because the witness doesn't need control. It just observes. The more you practice being the witness, the more inner space you create. Instead of reacting instantly, you pause, you breathe. You see the situation from a higher plane. And slowly, the grip of the world on you becomes weaker. You don't explode with anger so easily. You don't drown in anxiety. You start experiencing life as it is, not through the filters of past pain and future fear. This witness within you is steady, calm, unbroken. It has been present in every moment of your life, quietly observing while the outer world keeps changing. When you begin living from this space, you discover a freedom that nothing in the external world can disturb. The witness is your true home, the one place where peace is always available. Every emotion you've ever felt has left a mark inside you, whether you realized it or not. Some of those impressions faded naturally, but others stayed trapped deep within, waiting for the right moment to resurface. These stored impressions, called samskaras, are the root of many emotional reactions you experience today. They show up unexpectedly, triggered by something small, and suddenly you feel hurt, angry, or scared without fully understanding why. Imagine an old emotional wound sitting quietly in your heart. You might think you've forgotten it, but when someone says a certain word or behaves in a familiar way, the stored impression wakes up and releases a burst of energy. This is why your reactions sometimes feel bigger than the situation. You're not reacting to the present, you're reacting to the past that lives inside you. Energy naturally wants to flow. When you allow emotions to move freely, they rise, pass through the body, and dissolve. But when you resist, suppress, or avoid them, they get stuck. Think about how often you push emotions down. When someone hurts you, instead of feeling the pain, you distract yourself. When you feel fear, you avoid the situation. When sadness comes, you quickly bury it under work or entertainment. This habit slowly builds an inner world filled with knots, tight pockets of trapped emotion. The problem is, these knots don't stay quiet forever. They influence your behavior, limit your freedom, and shape your personality. You start avoiding people, places, or situations that might trigger unresolved pain. Your life becomes smaller, controlled by emotional blocks you never intended to carry. But there's a different way to live. Instead of resisting emotional energy, you can welcome it. When an emotion rises, notice the sensation in your chest, stomach, or throat. Feel the pressure, the heat, the tightness, without running from it. If you don't feed it with thoughts or stories, the energy begins to move on its own. It rises, peaks, and naturally releases. This process isn't always comfortable, but it's incredibly liberating. Every time you allow an emotion to pass through, one inner knot loosens. You become lighter, clearer, more open. Life starts feeling easier because you're no longer dragging old baggage everywhere you go. Imagine living with an open inner space where feelings come and go effortlessly. No heaviness, no stored pain, no emotional reactions waiting to explode. You respond to life instead of reacting to it. You feel emotions deeply, but you don't hold on to them. This is emotional freedom. And the best part? You don't need special techniques or complex rituals. You just need to stay present with what you feel. Let the energy rise and not close down. Slowly, the layers of old impressions dissolve, revealing a heart that can stay open, alive, and untouched by the weight of the past. This is the beginning of true inner healing. Letting go sounds simple, but in reality it's one of the hardest things to do. The mind loves holding on to everything, painful memories, fears, opinions, grudges, attachments, and even expectations about how life should be. This inner holding creates tension, and that tension becomes suffering. The art of letting go begins with recognizing that resistance is the real cause of pain, not the events themselves. When something happens that you don't like, your first instinct is to tighten internally. You push against the experience, you wish it were different. You argue with reality. This internal resistance creates a knot of energy that stays inside long after the moment has passed. Letting go means relaxing in the face of discomfort instead of tightening. It means choosing openness instead of defense. Think about a moment when someone upset you. Hours later, even days later, you might still be replaying the situation, imagining what you should have said, or feeling irritation rise again. The event is long gone, yet you're suffering because you haven't released the emotional charge you stored inside. Letting go breaks this cycle. When the initial discomfort rises, you breathe, stay open, and allow the feeling to pass through. Instead of feeding it thoughts, you give it space. To let go, notice the moment your heart tightens. That tightening is the exact point where suffering begins. You can either close around the feeling or relax into it. If you relax, the energy moves. If you close, it gets trapped. This simple choice, moment to moment, is what determines your inner freedom. Letting go doesn't mean suppressing emotions or pretending you're fine. It means allowing emotions to rise without trying to control them. The mind may say, "But this is wrong," or "I can't accept this," or "What if it happens again?" But you don't have to follow those thoughts. You can observe them, breathe, and stay centered in the present. Every time you let go, you break the pattern of being controlled by your reactions. Your inner space expands, and life begins to feel lighter. You become less triggered, more peaceful, and more connected to the deeper part of you that doesn't cling to anything. Life keeps flowing whether you hold on or not. But when you let go, you flow with it. You stop trying to force outcomes. You stop arguing with what already is. You start trusting the natural movement of life. Letting go turns every difficult moment into an opportunity for growth. Over time, letting go becomes a way of living. You stop carrying old hurts. You stop resisting change. You stop fearing what hasn't happened yet. Instead, you move through life with an open heart, releasing every wave of emotion as it comes. This is the freedom that comes from surrender, freedom from the grip of old pain, freedom from the mind's constant battles, and freedom to live with ease and peace. The heart is naturally open. It wants to feel, to love, to connect, and to experience life fully. But over the years, life's painful moments make you protect it. Each hurt, each betrayal, each disappointment becomes a reason to close a little more. And slowly, without realizing it, you begin living with a guarded heart, careful, cautious, afraid of being hurt again. Living with an open heart doesn't mean ignoring pain. It means not letting pain shut you down. It means allowing life to touch you without building walls. When something hurts, instead of closing, you breathe into the sensation, allow the emotion to rise, and let it pass. This openness creates emotional strength, not weakness. Think about how you feel when someone criticizes you. Instantly the heart tightens. You feel a contraction in your chest or stomach. That tightening is the beginning of closure. In that moment, you have a choice: to defend, to shut down, or to stay open and simply experience the emotion without reacting. Staying open doesn't mean you agree or accept what's said. It means you don't let the moment harden you. An open heart experiences life more deeply. You feel joy fully because you're not afraid of losing it. You feel love without holding back. You connect with others without suspicion. The world feels brighter because you're not filtering everything through layers of protection. But it's not always easy. Old emotional wounds make openness difficult. Memories of past pain whisper, "Don't trust, don't risk, don't get close." But you don't heal by closing. You heal by letting life pass through you. Every time you keep your heart open in a difficult moment, you dissolve a little bit of the old pain. Imagine walking through life without carrying emotional armor. You interact freely, you forgive easily, you listen without being defensive. The heart becomes a space where emotions move through instead of getting stuck. This openness makes you more alive because you stop resisting your experience. Practicing an open heart starts with awareness. When you feel tightness or resistance in your chest, pause, breathe into the sensation. Relax your shoulders, your chest, your face. Let the emotion come without pushing it away. Let yourself feel fully, but don't cling. The emotion will rise, peak, and then fade if you allow it. The more you stay open, the more energy flows through you. You feel lighter, calmer, more connected. Relationships become smoother because you're not operating from old fears. Life feels more meaningful because you're truly present. An open heart is not about avoiding hurt. It's about trusting yourself enough to face whatever comes. It's about living fully instead of hiding from experience. It's about allowing love, joy, sadness, fear, everything to move through you without shutting down. This openness is the beginning of inner transformation. When your heart remains open, even in difficult times, you discover a strength that does not depend on the outside world. You realize that peace comes from within, and nothing outside has the power to close you unless you let it. Fear is one of the most powerful forces inside the human mind. It shows up without warning, tightens the body, fills the mind with worst-case scenarios, and convinces you that you're in danger even when nothing is actually threatening you. Stress and negative emotions grow from the same root, resistance to what you're feeling in the moment. But once you understand how these emotions work, you can handle them in a completely different way. Most people try to avoid fear. They distract themselves, change the subject, escape the situation, or push the emotion down. But avoiding fear doesn't make it disappear. It makes it stronger. Every time you avoid a fearful feeling, you teach your mind that the fear is dangerous. This gives fear more power, so the next time it returns with even greater intensity. The book teaches a life-changing idea. Fear is just energy passing through the body. It's not a sign that something terrible is happening. It's simply an emotional vibration that rises and falls like a wave. When you stop resisting and let the wave move through you, it naturally dissolves. But the moment you tighten, react, or run from it, the wave gets stuck inside. Imagine fear rising in your chest. Instead of panicking, you notice the sensation. It may feel like pressure, heat, tightness, or a sinking feeling. Instead of fighting it, you breathe. You stay present. You allow the fear to be there without trying to change it. In that moment, you break the cycle of fear feeding on itself. You become the observer instead of the victim. Stress works similarly. Stress is not caused by life events. It's caused by your resistance to them. When you think something should be different from what it is, you create tension. The more you argue with reality, the more stressed you become. But when you stay present, breathe, and accept what's happening, even if it's unpleasant, stress loses its grip. Negative emotions like anger, jealousy, sadness, and frustration follow the same pattern. They rise, they seek expression, and they pass, unless you block them. When you suppress them, they turn into inner heaviness. But when you allow them to move through you without attaching stories or judgments, they cleanse your inner space. The key is awareness. The moment you notice a negative emotion rising, pause. Don't react. Don't run. Don't explain it. Just watch. Let your body feel whatever it feels. You'll be surprised at how quickly the emotion softens. By witnessing your emotions instead of being controlled by them, you develop a deep emotional resilience. Handling fear and negativity is not about becoming numb. It's about becoming free. You stop letting emotions dictate your behavior. You stop letting fear control your decisions. Instead of shrinking, you expand. Instead of contracting, you open. And slowly you discover that the deepest freedom lies not in eliminating emotions, but in letting them pass through without controlling your life. Inner freedom does not come from a perfect life, a stable routine, or a calm environment. It comes from your ability to stay centered no matter what happens around you. Most people believe they will feel free once their problems disappear, once their relationships improve, or once success arrives. But life never stops changing. The only true freedom comes from within, when nothing outside has the power to disturb your peace. Inner freedom begins with awareness. When you watch your thoughts, emotions, and reactions instead of getting pulled into them, you create a space between you and your experience. In that space lies choice. The choice to stay calm, to stay open, to stay grounded. You stop reacting automatically and start responding consciously. A person without inner freedom lives like a puppet. Their emotions pull the strings. A rude comment ruins their day. A failure destroys their confidence. A small fear stops them from moving forward. But a person with inner freedom moves through life with steadiness. Challenges come and go, but their inner world remains stable. One of the core obstacles to inner freedom is the constant need for external validation. When you depend on others to feel good about yourself, you hand them control over your emotional state. Every compliment lifts you. Every criticism crushes you. Freedom comes when you stop needing the world to agree with you. You become rooted in your own presence instead of opinions. Another obstacle is the mind's endless storytelling. The mind creates narratives about what should happen, what must not happen, and what might happen. When reality doesn't match the story, suffering appears. Freedom comes when you stop believing every story the mind tells. You see the thought, observe it, and let it pass. Living with inner freedom means embracing the present moment fully, not fighting it, not resisting it, not trying to escape into the future or the past. When you stay present, life becomes simple. You deal with situations as they arise instead of worrying about everything at once. The mind becomes clearer because you're not trapped in endless mental dialogue. One of the most powerful shifts happens when you stop taking things personally. Most of life's emotional pain comes from the belief that other people's actions are about you. But once you understand that everyone is acting from their own patterns and fears, you stop getting hurt so easily. You remain open even when the world doesn't behave the way you want. Inner freedom is a practice. Each time you relax instead of tighten, observe instead of react, accept instead of resist, you move closer to true peace. Slowly, you become someone the world cannot shake. Not because life becomes easy, but because you discover the strength of your inner space. This path is not about escaping life. It's about fully living it without being controlled by it. It's about walking through challenges with grace, staying open in uncertainty and trusting yourself in every moment. That is the essence of inner freedom. From childhood, you build an identity based on your experiences, achievements, fears, and the opinions of others. This identity feels like you, but it's actually a collection of stories about what you can do, what you cannot do, what you deserve, and what you must protect. This constructed self is the ego, and the ego spends its entire life defending those stories. The ego is not evil, it's simply limited. It believes you are small, separate, and fragile. It believes your worth depends on success, appearance, approval, or achievements. Because of this, the ego constantly seeks validation and fears rejection. It creates expectations, clings to past hurts, and panics whenever its story is threatened. Living through the ego is like living in a small room when an entire universe lies just outside the door. Transcending the personal self begins with recognizing that you are not the stories your mind tells. You are the awareness that sees the stories. When a memory appears, you notice it. When a fear arises, you observe it. When the ego reacts defensively, you watch the reaction without becoming it. This simple act of witnessing loosens the ego's grip. The ego thrives on identification. If someone criticizes you, it reacts fiercely because it feels attacked. But when you step back and observe the reaction, you realize that the criticism touched a story, not your true self. The real you remains untouched, silent, aware. This shift allows you to respond calmly instead of reacting from egoic fear. The ego also creates separation. It says, I am different, I am better, I am worse, I am right. These comparisons create suffering because the ego constantly measures itself. Transcendence means seeing everyone as expressions of the same consciousness, living their own experiences. You stop judging so quickly. Compassion grows naturally because you recognize that others act from their own fears and stories just like you. Another layer of ego is personal drama. The mind narrates your life like a movie, placing you at the center of everything. You interpret events as happening to you rather than simply happening. But when you step back, you see that life unfolds on its own. People come and go, situations rise and fade. Not everything needs to be taken personally. Transcending the personal self doesn't mean losing your personality. It means losing the fear and attachment behind it. You can still express yourself, love deeply, pursue goals, and enjoy life, but you're no longer trapped by the need to prove anything. As the ego loosens, a different experience emerges. You feel lighter, more open, less reactive. You accept change with grace. You forgive more easily. You stop overthinking every action. You begin living from a deeper presence that doesn't need validation or protection. In this state, consciousness expands beyond the narrow boundaries of identity. You realize you're not just the mind, not just the body, not just the personality. You are the awareness experiencing everything. This recognition is the beginning of true spiritual freedom, a life where you live authentically, peacefully, and without the weight of who you think you must be. Life is always moving. Every moment something is changing, shifting, opening, or ending. Yet most people spend their lives trying to control this flow, trying to force outcomes, resist situations, or hold on to moments that are already slipping away. This constant struggle creates stress, frustration, and a feeling of being stuck. The truth is, life doesn't need your control to unfold. It needs your awareness and your willingness to flow with it. Surrender doesn't mean giving up or becoming passive. It means letting go of the illusion that you can control everything. It means allowing life to unfold without fighting every twist and turn. When you stop resisting, you begin to experience the natural harmony of existence, a rhythm that carries you forward with far less effort. Think about how much energy goes into trying to make things happen your way. You plan endlessly, worry constantly, and replay scenarios in your mind. You get upset when things don't go as expected. This mental tension is exhausting, but when you learn to surrender, you start trusting that life knows what it's doing. You relax inside, even when the outside situation is uncertain. The mind believes surrender is dangerous because it fears losing control. It thinks, if I don't manage everything, things will fall apart. But in reality, the more you try to control, the more chaotic life becomes. You react emotionally, make rushed decisions, and close your heart. Surrender is the opposite. It opens your heart and clears your mind, allowing you to respond with clarity instead of fear. Surrender is especially powerful during difficult moments. When something painful happens, the instinct is to resist, to say, this shouldn't be happening, or why me? But resisting what is already happening only adds more suffering. When you surrender, you acknowledge reality without collapsing under it. You say, this is what's happening right now. I don't have to like it, but I can face it. This simple acceptance creates inner strength. Think of surrender as aligning yourself with life rather than fighting against it. A river doesn't struggle to flow. It moves naturally around obstacles. If a rock appears, the water doesn't panic. It simply finds a new path. When you surrender, you become like that river. You keep moving, adjusting, flowing. Challenges don't break you, they redirect you. Surrender also brings a surprising sense of peace. When you stop insisting that everything go your way, you free yourself from constant disappointment. You experience moments as they are, not as you think they should be. You become open to unexpected opportunities, new connections, and possibilities you couldn't see before because the mind was too busy controlling. This doesn't mean you stop taking action. You still work hard, make decisions, and follow your goals. But you do it without attachment. You act from clarity, not fear. You give your best and let life take care of the rest. This balance of effort and surrender creates a life that flows naturally without an inner battle. As surrender becomes a habit, you begin to notice a shift inside. Peace replaces anxiety. Acceptance replaces resistance. Trust replaces control. You discover that life's flow is not against you. It has always been guiding you. All you needed was the courage to let go and move with it. As we come to the final part of this deep journey through the ideas of the untethered soul, this is the moment where reflection transforms into action. Everything you've learned so far, the nature of the inner voice, the release of emotional blockages, the art of letting go, and the power of inner awareness, now comes together into a single living practice. This is not about memorizing concepts. It's about shifting the way you experience life from the inside out. Every day, you walk through situations that challenge your peace. Someone says something rude, or your plans collapse, or fear rises without warning. Normally, these events push you into old reactions. You tighten inside. You protect yourself. You replay conversations and build mental stories trying to feel safe. But this final message of the book says something revolutionary. You don't have to protect yourself from life. You only have to stop protecting your inner walls. The world is not your enemy. Your resistance to the world is what creates pain. Imagine a typical day. You wake up and immediately thoughts begin to run. Tasks, worries, memories, assumptions. Before you even brush your teeth, your mind is already shaping your emotional state. But the book invites you to take a radically different approach. Instead of allowing your thoughts to define the day, you become the observer. You watch the thoughts rise like clouds, knowing you are the sky. You don't fight them, you don't cling to them, you simply notice and let go. This is where emotional freedom begins. Every emotion that rises, sadness, fear, jealousy, doubt, is not a trap but a chance to release stored energy. When something triggers you, it is not a sign that you are weak. It is an opportunity to open your heart wider. The book teaches that when life touches an old wound, your job is not to close but to relax and let the energy pass through. Each time you do this, your inner space expands. You feel lighter, clearer, more alive. And here lies the final essence. Your soul has always been free. You have always been the awareness behind every experience. Your only real task has been to remember this truth. You don't have to control life to feel peaceful. You only have to stop clinging to the noise of the mind. When you learn to rest in awareness, life becomes simpler. Challenges still come, but they no longer crush you from within. Pain may appear, but suffering fades. You begin to live from a place of openness, flow, and inner strength. This message is not the end. It is the beginning of a new inner journey, a journey where you meet each moment with clarity instead of fear, and with presence instead of resistance. If you can carry even a fraction of this understanding into your daily life, you will slowly discover a freedom that no circumstance can touch. If you found value in this video, then like, share, and subscribe my channel, Audiobook Library.